What's up, family? This is Jay,
And this is
and
Tay,
you're now tuned in to another episode of the Unscripted
Unscripted
Journey
Journey
podcast.
Podcast.
We're going to ask you a few things before we get started. The first thing we're going to ask you is we're going to ask you to smash that like button.
Smash, smash, smash. I just want to throw you off.
Second thing we're going to ask you to do is share. Why? Because sharing is what?
Karen.
Sharing is caring. Then the third thing we're going to ask you to do is we're going to ask you to hit that subscribe button.
Yes.
We want you to be up to date with what's going on so that you will never miss an episode. And then the last thing we're going to ask you to do, we're going to ask that you comment.
Yes.
Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know how these episodes are helping you or being a blessing. And then also, this is where you can pose your questions and even give us a topic that you want us to tackle.
Yes, we would love to hear a topic that you guys would love us to talk about.
Most definitely. All right. Well, family, before we get into the topic that we want to talk about on today, we're going to pray. As always, if you're new here to this space, this is a space where we're very intentional to invite God into this space.
Yes.
That He will guide our conversation. He will lead the topic that we're talking about, and that our words will be seasoned with love and grace and wisdom. So we're going to pray.
Okay.
And then at the end, we always have some takeaways, and then that'll be it. You ready?
That'll be it. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Father, oh, how we love you, and we thank you for this another opportunity to be able to share about our life, about our journey, and then our testimony to how we are and how we have grown in you. And Father, we pray as we share our journey that others might be blessed. Yes, others might receive healing.
Yes,
others might receive guidance, and others might know that they're not the only ones that have experienced what they are experiencing.
Yes.
And so, God, I pray now that you will guide our conversation, guide our words, and that most of all, you will get the glory. And that, God, that we ask that somebody may be drawn to your Son, Jesus Christ. So, Father, we love you and we thank you. And it's in Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, let's get into it.
Okay.
Today, we're going to talk about things we would have known, things we should have known, or things we would like. We wish we had known before we got married.
Okay.
All right. Things we wish we would have known before we got married. And so this is a topic that we've been talking about. We've been married, for those who don't know, who are maybe new to the space. We've been married for 16 years. We've been together
16 long years.
Oh, it ain't been that long.
16 long
These
years.
These the best years of your life. So we've been together for 17 altogether. We are parents. We have three daughters. And so we want to get into some things we wish we would have known. And so
yeah, I'm gonna let you start it off. So don't even turn to me like you going. I'm gonna start it off. You gonna start it off.
Usually that is something that you do, but I don't mind starting it off. As leaders, as we, I'm a senior pastor. You're the leading lady. So with that, we do get a lot of people who come to us for wisdom,
right?
When it comes to being married, when it comes to be a married couple, how do they navigate life, right? And so I know that one thing that I wish I would have not just known, but would have done, that I don't marry a couple unless they do it with me or with somebody else, and that's receive counseling, right?
Ooh, I'm glad you learned that lesson.
I learned that lesson. That was a very vital lesson, right?
Yeah.
So to give y'all context, I had orders, and I think we've talked about it in the previous episode. I had orders, and so that's why we were already engaged to get married.
Yeah.
But my orders sped it up a little bit. And one thing, our pastor in Maryland at the time at the New Mount Nebo Church, Pastor Robert R. Johnson Sr. Love him. Shout out to him.
Yes.
He was like, yeah, I would marry y'all, but we have to do counseling. I was scared out my mind.
And so it's so funny because I'm like, what was the big fear? Like, I guess when you told me about it, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm thinking it's a conversation, like
Right.
some conversations, I'm not really thinking much of it. So for me, it was kind of like, I couldn't really understand why you were so against it.
Right. So for me, you young. I'm not even 22 yet. Almost about to be 22.
Yeah.
You're 24. And so I'm thinking like, this is like a make or break. He'll be in there saying, you know what, y'all shouldn't get married. You know what I mean? And so not thinking that
he was like, I can't lose her. I can't lose her.
Not thinking that he was going to give us guidance.
Right.
Right. To guide us through the waters, right? Especially
to have some upfront conversations,
right,
that he could just bring up versus us waiting until they pop up.
Right. And so we didn't get the chance to do it because when he married us, he understood the situation, and so he married us. But one thing he did talk with us, and I'll never forget this one thing that he said after we married. He said, well, before we got married, he said, before we do it, I want to talk with y'all.
Yeah.
And one thing he said is, do not forget about God.
Right.
That keep God at the center of it. And if you keep God at the center of it, you can make it.
Yeah.
And so I wish I would have went through that, because I believe, number one, I would have gained more wisdom, right? More wisdom on how to love you.
Yeah.
Not just of how I thought love should be, but how to love you according to God's word.
Right.
Right. How to guide you, how to be the priest of my household. And so I wish I would have went through that, because I see it now, how it's beneficial for the couples that we counsel, right? That we give wisdom to before they get married, or even while they're married. And I even gain wisdom while sharing wisdom.
Right.
And I always go back and say, man, I wish we had that moment to spend with him for how many weeks it would have, and just to talk with him, right? Because that goes into my second point. I wish we would have received counsel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because even with that first point, what you just said, I think was really key too. Even when you said, like, not even the counseling part, but even when he said, we just got to keep God in the middle of it.
Right.
And for me, I'm thinking we definitely should have did the counseling, because I didn't have that big of a relationship with him.
Yeah.
So that was a big load for you in our relationship. And you saw it as we went through different spaces in our relationship, that in the beginning, you really had to carry the brunt of the load for that, because I just didn't have that relationship yet to have that understanding that, yeah, I heard him, but to actually have practiced it.
Right.
Because I just didn't have that kind of routine in my life.
No, and that's very vital, right, to what you said, because it did, right? Because in one essence, I was trying to do it and through God's way, right? And then you were just trying to do it the way you
I'm
knew
just trying
best,
to do it, okay?
Right. And so we had that clashing, right? And so I agree with you. I wish we would have, that's one thing we would have done, right?
Yes, because it just showed up in different phases in our marriage. And
no,
it was
most
just
definitely.
like, so just having said that, it was like, that's even another indicator that he said that, and we were like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. But how knowing that I was not going to be upholding that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just because I just couldn't. I didn't know how.
And you didn't know how, right? Yeah, it's like you couldn't, but it's just that you just didn't know how, right?
I didn't know how.
And so we had to figure that out, right? So we had to manage that. And, to be honest, we got bad advice. Well, I believe we did, because people kept saying, oh, the first year is a breeze. I was like, y'all lying. Like, after that, I'm like, man, we came out that first year, like, with scratches, with bruises, clothes torn off. Like y'all, we barely
scraping by.
Right. Like, that was rough, because we getting to know each other, right? We living together now, like everything. And so we try to figure out, do we share the bank account? Do we have separate, all those things. And so if we would have had sat down and had and gained that wisdom, then we would have been, the better, better the more, or more the better, right? Yeah. But neither here nor there, we still made it. But that's one thing I wish we would have done. Now the second thing, it leads me to my second point, is if we went through that counseling, I would have known how to be a husband by God's standards.
Okay. Break that down.
Break that down.
Yeah.
great father. My father is a great example to me of what a man looks like, right? And my father, his love was just, I'm providing for y'all.
Right.
I'm working.
Yeah.
Right. You ain't never got to worry about, lights being on, bills paid.
Yeah.
Like, I'm working. Right. Kids, homework gonna get done. I'm cooking. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But I never got to have that one-on-one talk of how to be a husband by the Bible.
Yeah.
By God's standards.
Right.
When God says you are the man is the priest of his household, right? You are to love your wife like Christ loved the church.
Right.
Like, those are heavy things, right?
Yeah.
And so I wish I would have had somebody to really walk with me.
Right.
Right. To walk that out of what that looks like, right?
Right.
Because that is a heavy burden.
That is,
right?
Yeah.
That is a heavy burden of, when your wife mad at you and your wife, not really understanding is this and that, and you like, you trying to love and you trying to love her through it, and you trying to lead your family, and you got your own stuff on your own plate that you're trying to handle as well, and so it's difficult, right? It's difficult of how to maneuver through all those different circumstances. And so I wish I would have known or had somebody to walk with me and say, hey, this is how you not just be a husband, but a godly husband, right? Because we can look at the world, right? Okay, if you show up and if you go to work, you provide, that's being a good husband, right? Or, you ain't cheating, things like that, that's being a good husband, right? But you're not looking at what God says, right? And so that's a whole nother standard, right?
Right.
And so I wish I would have known that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you when you say you wish I have known that, what would that have looked like? Do you think you should have studied your word more in that arena? Do you think you wish you had found somebody that you connected with that was, that was walking it out? I just asked because we got married pretty young, right? And so for those who are maybe after you said that, cool, how can I figure out how to do that? What what would that have looked like for you if you wish you would have had it? You know what I mean?
That's good.
Because it's just, being young, it's how do you even, because when I think about somebody that is able to help navigate you through that, I'm thinking about somebody a little older with some wisdom that's probably been married for a while and probably studying their word. So they got both, right? They have some experience and they understand the word enough to know that this is what God is calling them to do as the man in the house.
Right. So that's a great question, right? So yes. And that goes back to a big thing that we talk about, especially in the church, discipleship.
Yeah.
Right. And discipleship is multifaceted. Right. Some people need to be discipled as a wife, discipled as a husband, discipled as a CEO.
Of course,
There's different levels to disciple, different areas of discipleship. And I wish I had somebody, and I wish I would have known, maybe I should have, remember reach out to some people and say, hey, can you walk me through? I'm about to be a husband. I've seen how you've been a husband.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And I want you to guide me through that, right? Now, one thing I did is I had my father, and it's so funny because my father said something to me so profound that I just found what he meant by it.
Right.
Now, this is 16 years later.
Okay.
This is why I wish I would have known, right? My father said something when I married to you. I said, Dad, how do I make it? He said, son, you got to be able to eat the crow.
Yeah.
I'm like,
okay. And you just let it slide, no questions.
Which to me, I interpret it as, when he says eat the crow, you got to be able to take some things, right?
Yeah.
You got to be able to just digest some things that you wouldn't normally digest, right?
Right.
But then now, as a pastor, as somebody who sits with people and guides them through marriages and through tough conversations, I was having a conversation with somebody and I had an epiphany that I finally understood what my father was really saying. That my father was really saying, as a husband, you have to understand that some things you're going to have to take and digest because that's what you're called to do. There are some things that you're going to have to be able to say, you know what? it don't taste good. It ain't smooth going down, but that is something I got to take because I'm the head, right? And so I understood that my father was saying something spiritual.
Okay.
Right? He was tying it, but he said it in a way that was led to my own interpretation.
Right.
And it wasn't until I was talking to somebody that I really had a full epiphany that my dad was really telling me, son, as the husband, as the leader of your household, that there was going to be some things that you're going to have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because being the head of your household and loving your family, loving your wife as Christ loved the church, you are called to a sacrificial life.
Right.
And to a sacrificial love. Right. And so there are going to be some things that you're going to have to love your way through, even though it's going to be hard.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I finally understood what he was saying.
Yeah.
And so again, that's why I wish I had somebody to really walk me through it, to have somebody to be able to call and say, hey, walk me through that. And it wasn't like I didn't have them.
Right.
You're at an age where you don't know what you need.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I wanted you to kind of further explain like that portion, because I feel like we were young, like, you know, I don't think we thought any of that.
Right.
Like, you know, I don't think we thought about like, oh, maybe I should get a mentor now that I'm getting married. Somebody who's been here before, you know. You kind of course, we talked to our parents and was like, you know, what's it like? But it's like, woo.
Yeah. Like,
you know, like, I don't know if I want mine to be like yours. Man, you know what I mean? So just different thoughts and like, okay, you know, I'm getting it, I'm taking it, but not exactly knowing if like with a grain of salt, I should say. You know what I mean? So
no, that's good.
You know, so
So okay. I've shared two of mine. So once you share.
Okay, so I think my first one is learning how to forgive and to forgive often. And I say forgive like, and I mean forgive. Like I have definitely been through some things prior to marrying you, you know, where things have happened that I wasn't happy about.
Right.
But I didn't forgive. I just moved on.
Got you.
Whether that was me staying and moving on, or whether that was me like, bye, and moving on. You know what I mean? Either way, I moved on. I didn't deal with what it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Either way, there was no resolve. I didn't feel resolved in any of it. I felt mishandled, or, you know, I felt the way, whatever way that may have been. Right. And so I think that marrying you in the time that I did, and then growing my relationship with Christ, it has really taught me to forgive. So not just to move on.
Right.
And he has put me in situations where he wouldn't allow me to move on. And that has been very hard. You know what I mean? Because it's like I'm going against what I'm used to doing to try to do things the way he has called me to do them. And so I think for me, forgiving and forgiving often has been something that I wish I would have known before I got married, because I feel like my first marriage, I definitely didn't learn that. And then even with this one, it has been more than a notion, you know, trying to learn it on my own and trying to live it out from just the word, right? Because I definitely hadn't sought anybody out or anything like that. So literally, like, me getting to that point has just been me diving into my word and really being like, man, we serve such a forgiving God, right? Like, man, like, you know, he is the example. And if I am to try to be what he has called me to be, then these are the things that I need to do, you know? So
let me ask you this with that. And I'm asking this just so we can help our listeners and our viewers. With that piece of learning, wish you would have known how to forgive and to forgive often. Did you carry, because of your lack of forgiveness, did you carry things into our new relationship, into our relationship, and that if I did something that reminded you of what somebody else did you unconsciously, unknowingly, like make, and I want to say just me, but anybody, make somebody, you know, feel worse because it was almost like it was done twice? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know that I did that, but I definitely know that the things that I didn't forgive made me move a lot different moving forward. So like, and this has been like not just specifically to you or like just me as a person.
Gotcha.
So like, I am very introverted, but I didn't used to be.
Right.
Like if people who know me from my past life will be like, she crazy. Like I can't, I don't know. I ain't never seen her quiet.
So you've not always been introverted.
No. So
I need y'all to hear this for those who know us. So she's an introvert. Yeah. I need y'all to hear this. Say it again for the people in the back.
I have not always been an introvert. And you can tell because I'm not an introvert with you. My kids can tell because they like, I'm definitely not an introvert with them. So like the people that are close to me very well know how I am. Right. But like life experiences and not being able to forgive and just moving past, like moving on has made me very guarded. Right. It has made me very, have trust issues, right? And so it had really shaped me into being somebody different, you know. And I'm not saying that it's like I don't like the person I am, because I love the person I am. Right. I'm just saying that I have changed,
right? And you would say because of some of the experiences and not being able to and not knowing how to forgive, and
and just kind of picking up and moving on, right? Or just kind of being like, oh, okay, letting it slide, instead of just like really dealing with it, and forgiving and being at peace with whatever has happened, whatever that may have been, like whatever it may have been, like not even relationship wise, like the way that I wish my life had a win, or the way that I felt like this should have went, like not just picking up and being like, okay, I'm just going to keep moving, you know, because that's really what I was good at. I just kept moving, and it was kind of like sometimes I would keep moving with the person. Sometimes I'm like, hey,
I'm moving without the person.
And like you would literally just be like another stranger on the street, you know. And so I think that for me, it has been really eye-opening, because I look back like and be like, I didn't always used to be this way. Like I didn't always used to be like, ooh, I need a battery pack. You know what I mean? Like I didn't had enough. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so that's one of the big things I think that I've learned.
And I think that we have to really understand that just because we move on does not necessarily mean you've dealt with it,
right?
I want to say that because that was a point that stuck out to me when you said that, right? You just move on, right? So you move on, but that thing is still lingering,
right?
Right? When you forgive, you have literally closed it, right? It's like I've dealt with it, it's done, right? And I can move on and be who I am, right? And be free from it and be able to walk freely into another situation, and that baggage is now off of me. Right. When you move on from the situation, but that situation is still attached to you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people need to really hear that and comprehend that there's a difference between forgiving and moving on than just moving on.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. And like sometimes I don't even think I realized that I didn't forgive, besides the fact that I didn't do the work, right? But I didn't necessarily knew that it was hindering me until something looked like it,
right?
And it was like, yeah, that's a no for me,
right?
You know what I mean? I'm not doing that, you know. So that's interesting. And one thing I wish I would have known before I got married, to forgive and to forgive often. And then I think the next thing that I wish I would have known, that I just kind of learned, is like making sure that you are still trying to be your best self.
That's good.
Like, I think you kind of get, you get caught up in marriage and all this togetherness. And it's like, you kind of forget about like the things that you desire to do, the things that make you a better person, and trying to get to know yourself, you know what I mean? And that goes along with just kind of just forgiveness, right? Unforgiveness, like really working through whatever you got going on. And even if that is like, hey, I personally worked through my stuff during my marriage, you know what I mean? And even whatever that looks like, but knowing that it has to get worked on, understanding that when you see it, like, hey, this is something you need to work on, and understanding that you should always be while working together with your partner or your husband or wife, that you should also be working on yourself, because that doesn't do anything but better your relationship and your marriage, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was another thing that I wish I knew.
I think that's very vital, right? And I think it's very vital because sometimes we can get lost into our spouse.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we forget about I still gotta live, right? I still gotta be me. And that's one thing that I would say that I'm glad we always, after a while, we encourage each other to spend time away from each other.
Right.
Right. I would encourage you, hey, once our kids got to the age where, because in the very beginning, when we started having babies, you weren't going nowhere. No. Right? And so
I'm getting out of here.
And so, once we got to that stage where I'm like, okay, hey, go have a girls' night, right? Because you go fill your cup up.
Yeah.
And then you can come back and after you've reset it and be a better wife, right? Be a relaxed wife, right? Be a mother that has been filled back in, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that I would say that I often tell couples, and that's one thing that I would say that is, don't lose yourself in the marriage, right? Don't forget about you. Yeah, you are becoming one, but you still need to fill your cup up. And so sometimes you need to go and say, hey, I'm going to a spa day, right?
Right.
And that's not saying you're negating the marriage. You're like, hey, I'm filling my cup up because I'm gonna be honest. Some things she want to do, I don't want to do.
Right.
Same y'all. Here. I'm telling y'all, this woman, love her to pieces. And man, when I first got married,
don't be telling my business.
Oh, I'm telling. When we first got married, man, I just want to be wherever you at. You want to take me shopping? Yeah, sure. I'll take you shopping. Y'all, this lady would go shopping in the mall. And she ain't shopping because she ain't bought anything. 3 hours. Y'all, I'm in there. Like, this is before the ESPN out. Like, I'm in there like, bruh, buy something. Well, I went and saw this dress, but I can find this dress cheaper. So now we trying to go to 3 other stores to find the same dress she like for a cheaper price. Y'all, we walking through the mall. We get to the cheaper price. She like, nah,
I don't want
it
no
really
more.
Want it no more. Y'all, I be sitting there saying, you know what? Buy something. Buy a pretzel so that this trip would not be in vain. And so I understood then, hey, you know what? I can't go shopping with you.
Yeah.
That's not my thing. But you know what I'll do? I'll send you.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat, right? And so I believe that's an awesome point. That's a big point that we wish we would have known. But not only that people who are listening, for them to put into their bucket that, hey, don't forget about you. Now, I ain't saying like, go negate your whole family and stuff like that.
No.
But, every now and then so often, it's okay to fill your cup up, right? And to get to know you, because in all honesty, we are changing.
Right. And get to know you, because then that brings more to the table with your partner.
That's
right?
So good.
Like when you are just solely relying on them for everything, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of pressure, right? And I feel like, so that's just something I would learn. I have learned, and I wish I had have known, because I do feel like in the beginning we were very much like feeling like we had to do everything together.
Yeah.
And so even when we kind of start breaking apart from it, I feel like we both were kind of like if you broke apart, I was kind of like, where you going?
Right.
And then it was like, if I broke apart, you were like, well, where you going?
Right, right.
And it was like, we were slowly doing it where we had our own thing. And it was like, I feel like at first it was some growing pains.
Nah, for real.
On both sides, but for the better, because then it's like, oh, okay, cool. You done got your cup filled. So when you come home, you're not Mr. Angry Man or Mr. Tired Man. You kind of like, hey, what's going on? So refreshed. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's a lot of good that can come with it.
Yeah.
Just making sure that you're taking the time for yourself.
A lot of good things. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I wish I would have known is how to love you the way you need to be loved, instead of loving you the way I feel like you should be loved.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, because you always hear that treat others how you want to be treated, and that's really not it.
Yeah, like
it's treat others how they would want to be treated.
Yeah, and that's one thing I learned, because I used to love spoiling you, and I still do spoil you. But in the very beginning, I was loving you the way I wanted to be loved.
And I just wasn't receiving it the way you would want me to receive it.
I love gifts, right? That is one of my love languages. It's not my top one. Like, I love it, right? And so I was doing the thing that I loved, right? I'm buying you nice gifts. Like, I'm buying you diamond earrings. You lost them. I'm buying you, watches. You don't really wear watches, right? And I'm not even knowing you don't wear watches, right? I'm buying you all these things, right? Not knowing that all you really wanted was quality time.
Right.
I would have saved a ton of money.
Yeah.
Right? Knowing that my wife just wants, after you've done all your business, give me some time that's intentional away from everybody else. You cut off everybody else.
Right.
And it's just me, and that I'm the only one that's getting your attention, right? And we don't know that, right? So you're learning. So I wish I would have known how to really love you the way you need to be loved, to be in tune with you, right? To be able to ask those questions. How do you like this? How do you like to be loved? Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I feel like you was just doing that because you wanted that reciprocated.
I did.
Yeah, so it was like, you buy me all these gifts, and it's this was a selfish act, because now you expecting all these gifts, and I'm like, I'm not a great gift giver.
Y'all, she was a terrible gift giver.
Never been a great gift giver.
But she's gotten better, like, by the grace of God.
Yeah, I've never been a great gift giver.
Giving is on her now.
Yeah.
But back in you would say this, I'm not buying that.
I would. After you told me what you wanted, I would be like, yeah, I'm not going to get that.
Right.
Because I just felt like, I don't want to get what you tell me to get. I want to get something surprising or, something that you don't know. So, I've never been a great gift giver. And so, it was kind of like, we had a rough patch with that, because you would be really upset. You would be really upset. And now, meanwhile, I would take your gifts and be, I would be happy with them.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't be used the way you would have liked me to use them. So I think that that's really good. I think that, learning how to love somebody the way they want to be loved, and show them that you care the way they want you to show them.
Most definitely.
They want to know that you care is important.
No, most definitely.
And that just goes to just, you're married, you should be in tune with them, and they should be in tune with you, and so you won't miss.
Yeah.
And you're not in tune with yourself, so that you're doing stuff so that.
And that's the thing that we didn't really know.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're young, we're parents, we trying to, climb the ranks in the military.
Yeah.
And so we just moving in the hustle and bustle. And we really didn't get that time to really just be able to tune in, right? Because we raising kids, we trying to, I'm in ministry and military, you in school, and we doing these things. And now when I look at it, now we're in that space where we can sit down, have devotion, pray together, really slow down, really have those intimate talks at night.
Yeah.
And so those are things. And I believe if we would have been intentional, we would have carved at that time earlier, right?
Yeah.
And so not even, so that intentionality in the very beginning. So I would say to anyone who's listening, be intentional from the start.
Right.
Right. If you're intentional from the start, you will be working, because marriage is work.
Yeah.
Right. But you will be working not against yourself.
Right.
Right. When you come in unintentionally and you every which way, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to work harder to pull it back in, if that makes sense. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And to be in tune with your person.
Yeah, that's good.
That's like your job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what the marriage work is. Your job is to just really be in tune with your person, trying to figure out their likes, their dislikes, trying to figure out all those things. And if both of you guys are doing that, like both of us are both
in tune
and trying to figure out, let me try to figure out what you like. Let me figure out what you don't like. Let me figure out, then it will be a lot smoother.
It will be.
But I feel like a lot of times we go into relationships and marriage, like, this is who I am. This is what I like. This is what I desire. And it's just like you trying to put in everything up front to them.
We go in with intention of just getting our cup filled.
Yeah.
But forgetting that it's supposed to be reciprocated.
Right.
Right. As your cup gets filled, you're supposed to fill the other cup as well.
Right.
And I believe that a lot of times we forget that.
Yeah.
That if we understand that we are to be poured out of and into, then we would understand how it goes in marriage. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. And so as we wrap this up, I want to share, and I hope that you don't get emotional, but I want to share a story with our listeners and our viewers that will do something different. Their takeaway, right?
Okay.
And this was my takeaway when we first got married, and I've held on to it all these years.
Okay.
And I've often brought it up in story. I want to say to you all, my wife was blessed with an amazing father.
Yes.
And his name was Milton Pitts. Milton was my man. He was a great father-in-law, a great grandfather, and a great husband. There was a story he shared after we got married. Our parents got together, put us in a room, and they told us, hey, we want to share some wisdom with y'all. And he shared a story about how being mad, right? How being upset could lead to some things. And it was the most funniest story ever, that he was mad with my mother-in-law, and he was upset with her. And he was so upset. He doesn't cook.
Right. Nor does he know how to cook.
Right. And so he wanted macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
He didn't know he had to boil the noodles. And so he took unboiled noodles and put cheese on them and put it in the oven. And because he was so stubborn, he ate the uncooked noodles with cheese. And it taught me a lesson that, listen, if you're not willing to forgive, you will be eating some hard macaroni in life. And so I want to say to you all, don't be stubborn. Right? Don't be in that place where you're too mad to where you have to do some things or take some things that you necessarily don't have to. And so I want to leave you with this. Love your person. Love your mate and forgive your mate. And here it is. If you can be reminded of the grace you received from God our Father, then you can be reminded to give that grace to your spouse. So listen, we encourage you, learn your spouse, learn your person, whether you're dating, whether you're thinking about getting engaged, whether you've been married, whether you are struggling in your marriage and you even thinking about maybe this may not be it.
Right.
Here's why I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to look again. I want to encourage you to look at what's in front of you. Because too many times we look at what could be instead of looking at what is. You know what I mean? And so I want to encourage you to listen. Look again to what God has given you, because you could be passing up a blessing just because it's not all what you thought it would be. But if you put the work in, and if you learn the lessons now, and if you seek help, seek advice, seek wisdom, seek mentors, I guarantee your marriage will be better than you ever thought about it. You got anything else you want to say?
When we talk about marriage, I always just like to remind people that it's a choice. And that it's two people choosing each other. And so with that same thing of like, that person looking again, get your partner. Hey, tell them, hey, look again, because it's both of us. One of us can't do it alone. So both of us have to choose each other. So I always, that's always just something that I like to tell people, because I feel like we live in a world that we feel like we the best thing that since sliced bread. And it's like, that's a choice. You've been chosen. And you chose. So I always like to tell people that. I always like to bring people to that, because I think it's a humbling experience when you know that you cannot be chose.
No, I love that.
So
I love that.
So
Well, family, that's the end of this episode. We love you.
Yes.
I'm Jay.
And I'm Tay.
And you have now just tuned into another episode of the Unscripted Journey podcast.
Yes.
Peace out. We love you.
See ya.